Hi. I don't know how to do a proper introduction to this, but I'm going to just cut to the chase. I have been a fan of Arrow since season 1. I watched it since day 1. From watching the Green Arrow on Justice League Unlimited to seeing him on Smallville is what sparked my interest in the show in the first place, just to see a different take on Arrow. I was not one of the people who didn't mind him going the kind of Batman-esque route because of the fact that the writers said they were inspired by the Dark Knight trilogy, and the fact that a guy who's been MIA for 5 years and went through all the traumatic shit that he went through, I just felt like it would be, realistic that he'd be, go through the trauma that he went through for the first couple of years and be kind of this darker character before becoming this lighter character that he was known for in the comic books, which is all the more reason is one of the reasons why it made season 4 so disappointing. And not only that, but this is basically a message for Stephen Amell, Paul Blackthorne, anybody on the cast, the writers of the show, and just anybody who's willing to listen, because of the fact that, first of all, Stephen Amell is not only a good actor, but a guy who who was a role model and I looked up to and admired, and quite frankly was disappointed and a little bit appalled by the fact that he would post something on his Facebook pictures or allow something to be posted on his Facebook, like what to the bottom right of my screen, and be going on Larry King and saying that Twitter is overblown, that their opinions don't matter, that they're just like a minority, that the voice is so loud, and talking about how he has such a positive experience with his fans in public, and that people who attack fictional characters are not fans of the show. Which I feel like is a very asinine statement, and it's just basically him. I just feel like it's just between this picture to my right and the statements he makes on Larry King, he's basically just telling a good portion of his fans to go fuck off. And this is for Stephen Amell. I don't know. Let's be realistic. Given how many people are coming to see you on photo ops and autograph lines and are waiting in line for both, are going to and have this like once in a lifetime opportunity to meet you, are going to be coming up to your face and just saying that, oh my god, fuck this show, I have all these problems with it, blah blah blah, and giving you this whole list of complaints they have about it, considering that like this is the once in a lifetime opportunity to meet you. They just care more about, they're just being happy to meet you rather than list their complaints about their show, especially since they're women who swoon over you and you're their celebrity crush. And I know people who watch this show in spite of itself, in spite of its flaws, just because you're their celebrity crush, and they'll still acknowledge the fact that you've said and done things that have pissed them off, and including things like telling everybody they need to get over Laurel's death. I mean, and the fact that, Twitter's been overblown, and the fact that you're making these statements saying like, oh, if you attack fictional characters, you're not a fan of the show, is like basically saying that we have to like everything you guys say and do on this show regardless. And the fact that it's like people are going online to complain about it, or saying something about it, they are fans of the show. They're disappointed with the way that the direction has been going the last couple of years. And it's not like the people who are like indifferent to it, who would like watch this show like maybe every now and then, are the ones, and not going to the internet, are the ones that don't care, are not like, are like casual fans. And the people who are going online and like saying all this stuff, however vitriolic it is, are the ones that, as Kevin Bacon would say, have cyberballs. They're saying all this stuff and being blatantly honest about the things that how they feel about how they feel about certain things that they wouldn't say to a certain person's face. And I feel like, and I don't get this all this crap about how you say how, Twitter's a place where, there's no anonymity, there's anonymity, there's no accountability. I mean, there are people who have their full names who follow me or who I follow them, and who clearly have, full names, and it's like, I don't see how there's like no accountability. There's no accountability or whatnot, or any anonymity. And you're talking about how they don't have 140 characters. They only have 140 characters to express their opinion. Well, in response to that, this is why I'm making this video, to basically get my point across, to say that it's not that black and white, and that it's not that we don't have. It's like people just like bitching on the internet for the sake of bitching. It's because of the fact that there are like legitimate flaws that people have, and legitimate flaws people have that they're expressing their opinions about. And it's not just Twitter. I mean, there's Reddit where it's like they've changed in response to the season finale, they've changed their Arrow Reddit to a Daredevil Reddit out of their disappointment of the fact that they were expecting, like myself, season 4 to turn things around after season 3, where it just felt like there was a lot of, character derailment and, Malcolm and Merlin being shoehorned into the plot, and a whole story arc that didn't make a lot of sense. And this is the thing that killed me about season 4, is that you guys were nailing it. We were killing it for episodes 1 through 9 of season 4. You guys were like killing it. You had a great villain. Damien Dark was the best villain you had on the show since Deathstroke. You had a well-paced plot. Nobody was keeping secrets for like in gratuitous amount of episodes, and like I said, the plot was well paced. Nobody was keeping secrets, and Oliver's being a more positive, being more optimistic and positive, and they did have a lighter tone, and it quite frankly, because it didn't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting for setting up Legends of Tomorrow, I would say that for the first half of the season, you were giving even The Flash a run for its money. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed those episodes even more than episodes of The Flash. But then after the mid-season finale, from like episodes 10 on, it became uneven, and it wasn't as engaging, and it then had like a lot of the same. I just felt like it had some of the similar flaws that season 3 had, and just like I said, you had an uneven tone, and how just in Felicity, just like Malcolm Merlin the previous season, I just felt like she was shoehorned into plots, and she was overexposed, and too much focus was on her, to the point where personally I became oversaturated with her. I think a lot of fans felt the same way about her and Malcolm Merlin, to the point where, in the same way that some people felt oversaturated with Wolverine in all the X-Men movies. And the thing is that I love, Felicity. I was an Felicity shipper, and I don't think people realized the appeal of, Felicity was the fact that it was one of the few, like, lighthearted, relatively angst-free relationships, not only on the show, but on TV in general. You guys were subverting a trope instead of just falling into the typical soap opera, and you guys were, and this is one of the things about the show, is that you set the precedent for what to expect in a superhero television show. You like ushered in a golden age of superhero television, and not only for the CW, but for like other shows like Flash, for other shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Preacher, Agent Carter and whatnot, and especially with the CW, where it's like you guys are like probably one of the few shows where it's like it doesn't have to just be for 20 tweens or like 20 something year old like lovesick fans who are like into shows like, I don't know, like Gossip Girl or One Tree Hill or any other shows that like were really similar, the stereotypical soap opera. You were subverting the trope, and then it felt like this relationship became a "be careful what you wish for" scenario and brought out the worst in both characters, especially with they planted the seed with Oliver's having an illegitimate son and giving the dynamic that Felicity had with her dad and Thea had it with her dad, that there would be some kind of similar parallel. But instead, he was just basically a plot device to just basically break them up and turn them into the angst-filled couple that we didn't want to see, and we saw from Laurel and Oliver in season 1. And I mean, you talk about how it's like, oh, like the negativity is just like, they're just in the minority, and they're also just overblown, and there's just like a small portion of the fan base. These are the fans who watch this show just because they're not just there just to see the romance or to see who's the best looking couple, or the people who just want to see Stephen Amell just take his shirt off or do the Sam ladder or whatnot. These are comic book fans. These are people who want to see a superhero show, and a superhero show should have as broad as base as possible. Have the drama, the romance, the action, the comedy, especially the drama from having to focus on how vigilanteism is having an effect on their lives, as opposed to just focusing on like personal relationships, and again making it the stereotypical soap opera. And it's like, and for Stephen Amell and Paul Blackford, I know you both said it's like, hey, as long as people are watching, it's fine. Everybody is a critic, etc. But it's like, you guys would have such higher ratings, and have so many more viewers if it just wasn't trying to appease illicit shippers or like lovesick viewers, because of the fact that, and I don't know why the writers are lying. To the writers, I don't know why you guys are lying about the fact that how feedback on the internet has no effect on the show, when you're clearly just trying to appease illicit shippers, and why she's taking up so much focus on the show. I mean, you even included the ship name Elicity into the episode Broken Hearts in a newspaper article for why the characters are breaking up and not getting married. And it's the reason why I feel like that relationship has gotten so much more focus at the expense of their character development, the character development of both of those characters, and the character development of other characters, especially Laurel, who, and this is the thing about Laurel, is that she's gone back and forth between being a likable character and just being just downright annoying with her alcoholism, or the fact that it's like in the beginning of the early on in the season she became this morally superior person, trying to try to be morally superior, and how much she's better than everybody else, but at the same time you can't lie, and being a hypocrite about it. And then with rushing her arc into the Black Canary, but eventually I grew to, at the expense of killing off Sarah, who is a much far more compelling and developed character when she first appeared. Killing her off in season 3 just to rush her development into the Black Canary, because you guys thought that was her way of trying to redeem the character. Even though it felt it was a little rushed and a little haphazard, by episode 313, Canaries, she did have some character development and did have to face the repercussions of her actions about lying about Sarah's death, that I actually grew to like her, except for the fact that it's like, I don't know why you had her be the one to go and like resurrect Sarah at the expense of all her character development once again, instead of just having Damien Dark be the one to do it, just because of the fact that he was already the bad guy. He could have used that as a way to being a sadistic bastard and toying with the team. This having this whole convo between Teen Arrow is like, oh my God, how did Sarah come back? Did you use the Lazarus Pit? Laura could have overheard it, and they could have had the same conversation that they did in the hospital, during the Constantine episode, in which she called out Oliver on, not giving a damn about her family and caring more about his, and without, vilifying her. And also, I felt like Oliver was the one who ended up apologizing to her, but at the same time, it's like, she should have accepted some of the guilt if you're going to really have her be responsible for bringing back Sarah, considering she went on this murderous rampage in this soulless state. And if you weren't going to have her, take any responsibility for her actions, it's all the more reason why it should have been Damien Dark or somebody else that brought her back from the dead. And it's just like one of those things where it's just like, I think Katie Cassidy is a great actress, and it just, to me, killing her off, the fact that you guys didn't know who was going to be, and you guys picked her at the last minute, and you guys are saying, oh, it felt natural to the story, blah blah blah, like, it just felt like it was just a testament to the fact that she got, getting the short end of the stick for her entire tenure on the show. It's like, you promised her that she was going to have this development to this iconic character, who was iconic in the comic books for years, and it's like, it was clear you didn't always know what to do with her. She wasn't always well characterized or well utilized, and she's a great actress, and I feel like it's not fair in spite of what everybody's saying, it was not fair to her that she was killed off after about a year of just being a vigilante. I grew to like her. I didn't always like her. I grew to like her, and she was on such an upswing this season, and this was the most likable she's ever been, and she finally found her place in the team as this kind of being like the heart of the team, as being like this big sister figure, and not being pissed about her dad lying about working with Damien Dark, and being supportive and whatnot. And it's just like, I didn't feel like she really got to reach her full potential because of the fact that I don't get how this is good writing when you kill off a character who was still pretty much divisive at this point. I mean, like I said, I grew to like her, but I have other friends who I've talked to who just felt like they didn't really care much for the character and just felt like she was just there and just kind of dead weight, as opposed to, like, and I've had this conversation with them where it would have been more shocking if it would have been, Thea or Diggle, who was more universally loved, versus somebody who was more universally loved in the same way that Tommy was. Like, oh my God, that was shocking. I can't believe that happened. Holy shit. And it just felt like if you're killing off a character who's very divisive, it doesn't have that same emotional punch or resonance with people as somebody where like half the people are just like divisive about it and just going to be indifferent. And it's not just about, critics being critics and stuff like that. It's just, she was just a divisive character. She wasn't always well utilized or characterized all the time. I mean, it's a universal opinion. Well, or I should say, like I said, go back to being divisive. And I mean, God willing, I mean, I'm glad that she got brought back, or at least her doppelganger was appearing on The Flash, and hopefully that'll be a recurring character. But again, I think it's the reason why I think it was sexist, and why, like, I felt she got strung along. And what's more insulting is that they took all the character traits that made Laurel and Thea unlikable from season 1 and 2, with them making a big deal about people lying to them, and transferred it to Donna Smoke and to Felicity to some extent, with Donna Smoke being, you can't lie, talking to Felicity, don't lie to each other, you can't lie, and then in the penultimate episode, and then where she says, oh, by the way, I've lied to you for 20 years, your father didn't leave you, I just took you and packed up and left, it makes her look like the biggest hypocrite in the world. And the fact that it's like, Felicity's been lying to Oliver, in between the season 3, season 4 hiatus about working with Team Arrow, and that being played up for laughs, whereas like Oliver's secret about, having an illegitimate child, which of course he should have said something about, the mom wasn't, Samantha wasn't looking over his shoulder about it, that, that was like the breaking point of why they broke up, and just brought more melodrama to that relationship. And like I said, I don't want to jump on this bandwagon that people are on now, where it's like, fuck this show is garbage, it's time to put it out the pasture, because like I said, I have been a passionate fan of this show. I know you guys can do better. The show has been better, and it's the reason, and that's why it's so disappointing that I went for going from season 2, which it felt like was not only the best season of the show, it's probably some of the best television I ever watched. I would actually legitimately go as far as to put it up there with a season of House of Cards or Game of Thrones. And while I was watching it, season 2 of Arrow is actually, I considered it the best season of television I watched since 24 season 5. And the fact that it went from that to episodes we had in season 4 where you had Brie Larson and everybody else making B puns, and it becoming its Batman, the episode becoming its Batman and Robin, in the sense that everybody was making all these puns related to the super villain of the week's shtick, and episodes where Felicity was forced to detonate a nuclear missile that had already been launched in a less populated area. It was basically just glossed over by the end of that episode, and instead of, it's a nuclear bomb that was detonated on U.S. soil, and it killed tens of thousands of people. That should have brought the country to the halt. Like, it should have been, like, mentioned or referenced, at least on The Flash. Like, that's the kind of impact it should have had. And yet, because they brought in her Felicity's mom and dad, and had them, like, bickering as a source of, like, comedy and drama, that it didn't even have the same level of tension that Slade Wilson's Siege and Ra's al Ghul turning the city against Oliver in seasons 2 and 3 had, respectively. There wasn't a sense of tension. It's because of stuff like that. It's like, where's that sense of tension? Where's the sense of dread? Like, where's the stuff that's going to keep us on our edge of our seat? Where it just have this, like, campy stuff that's, like, undermines, like, the seriousness of, these villains, like, threatening Star City and whatnot, or Damien Dirk's case, threatening the whole planet. It just wasn't there. It's just a... And again, you guys, I don't know what happened. Like, you guys were, and this is what makes this season 4 so disappointing, is that you guys were doing a good job. It wasn't the magic that was a huge part of it. That was a problem with it. It's like you guys were showing legitimate improvements and turning the season around from season 3 and getting back on track, and the show was evolving, and I don't think you guys could fully capitalize on certain ideas in the beginning of the season, and that's why I'm just so disappointed that it's like you guys brush it off as, oh, everybody's a critic, and it's, haters are gonna hate or whatever. It's like, so what is that? So what? Like, people's opinions don't matter? I mean, so what does that say about, Screen Rant or ING or IGN, who the guy rated the season finale with a 3.8 out of 10 as their, like, worst episode thus far, which I don't agree with. I thought the season 4 finale was better than the season 3 finale. I mean, you have, like, Screen Rant, ING, Red Brick, like, all these other websites and, like, professional critics who have been reviewing the show and share the same concerns about the state of the show now that everybody on Twitter has, who you can complain is just noise, when it's just the fact that you guys are putting emphasis on the wrong stuff, and it's not what it used to be. And I just wanted to go I speak for a lot of people when I say I wanted to go back to focusing on being the superhero show that it originally was in seasons 1 and 2, where you guys set the precedence for, what kind of what to expect from a television show and or a superhero television show, and not be this this stereotypical soap opera, but so much focus on relationship drama, as opposed to the vigilanteism and the villains and the plot, and focusing on making it feel like more of an ensemble piece. And I just had to get this off my chest, and hope you guys, for the love, just take it as legitimate criticism, and just, we're not just like bitching for the sake of for bitching. We're saying this because we care. And the people, and although I understand that on the other side of it, that people on Twitter can be very vitriolic, and the people who are saying horrible things to Emily Ricards and Katie Cassidy, you guys can go to hell. Like, legitimately, you guys can go to hell. You should be ashamed of yourselves, because they're not to blame or responsible for how the stuff the characters say and do. The writers write and the actors act. And I feel bad for them. I mean, I've never been able to go to every Comic-Con, but just from what I've seen on YouTube footage, they seem like incredibly lovely people. I would love to meet them in person. I would move heaven and earth just to meet those people. But again, it's like, I just don't know what happened to the show, where it just feels like Mark Guggenheim and the writers, etc., just feel like they would be rather write like a romantic comedy drama as opposed to a superhero show, and just appease to the shippers. And I know you guys I know Stephen Amell says like, oh, it's going to go in a new direction and go back to the basics, and that the main villain is going to be based on a character from The Wire, but it just feels like, to be honest, like, what guarantee do I have that you're going to fulfill that promise, where you said season 4 is going to have a lighter tone, and then totally follow through with it? And I don't want to give up on the show like some people have, especially after, killing off Laurel and all these other decisions with this show. And I just wanted to go back to being the show I fell in love with, and the show I looked forward to every Wednesday. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm sad that Stephen Amell and company just think like our opinions don't matter, and except if you're in like an Olicity shipper, or if you just think like the negative opinions don't matter, and the show's like flawless, and he doesn't have its own issues, and in spite of the fact that season 4 has had the lowest ratings that the show's ever had. And like I said, professional critics, people on Twitter, Reddit, my friends of mine, it's like people who review this show on YouTube, like you can look up any review of 11:59 episode, and I don't think there was like one positive review they had about the show, but they weren't pissed about killing off Laurel, or a season 4 review where they weren't happy about they weren't happy, or on the internet where they weren't happy about this season 4 and saying it was the weakest yet, when I still say that the first 9 episodes of season 4 is what made this marginally better than season 3. But it's like, you keep saying like, it's just Stephen Amell, to you keep saying that our opinions, the negativity is just noise, when it's like, I mean, other actors on your show, past and present, complain about the material they worked with. Emily Ricards hasn't been happy with the material she's been given to work with in season 3. David Ramsey wasn't happy with the stuff he was given to do in season 3. Manu Bennett was like retweeting all like the nasty tweets about the show because he wasn't happy with the direction that his character went in, especially in season 3, where he was just basically like, he didn't feel like the character reached his full potential, and he basically got his ass kicked by Thea during the one episode he came back for in season 3, and we only got like 5 minutes of screen time. And I mean, and Steven, you're like the same guy who like stood up for Susanna Thompson and Paul Blackthorne when they weren't part of the promotional material for season 3. You're the same guy who stood up for Grant Gustin when the WB announced that Ezra Miller is being cast as the Flash in the Flash movie, when it was only 2 weeks after the TV show premiered. And that's something I kind of grew to respect, that you weren't like, go along to get along with all this Hollywood bullshit. And the fact that it just seems like you've kind of taken the same route with the show itself, it's like, it's disappointing. Like, you would think with all the negativity that you've been getting in seasons 3 and 4, that you weren't getting in seasons 1 and 2, that you would kind of at least like take a step back and not just see it all as just like, and just maybe stop and think. It's like, why is this getting all the backlash, instead of just like marginalizing it and just saying it's like, it's just trolling and online bullying. It's not as simple, it's not as clear cut as that. I mean, some of it is, and some of it's just like, some of it is people who just want this show to go back to the state it was in seasons 1 and 2. And I know you say you're going back to basics, but it's like, what guarantee do I have that it's not going to be another broken promise like it was in season 4? And I mean, I feel like I pretty much said all I can say about it, and I hope for Stephen Amell, the cast, the writers, anybody who's willing to listen, that you please take this as some kind of constructive criticism from a concerned fan who wants the best for this show and is a fan of this show, and again, not just brush it off as being, part of the noise. And I just want to look forward to season 5, as opposed to like, somebody who wants to just be part of the people who just want to just jump ship and just give up on the show. I don't want to give up on the show. This show has great potential, and I hope that you listen to this and it'll probably clear up some of the things, and you won't just assume that it's just trolling, online bullying, and take it as a and maybe that'll take my concerns into consideration. That's all I ask for.